Yeah, it's 5:15. I'd like to call the January Park and Rec meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call has been taken.
Yep.
I'd look for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Made by Bernie, second by John Hass. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Look for approval of the November 4th, 2024 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. I'll second the motion.
Motion made by John, seconded by Bernie. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment? Seeing none. Ginger, Madison student.
Yeah, I can introduce Milo Augusto. He is with us via Zoom. So hey, here we are. Milo is a student with his final year at UW-Madison, studying to be a landscape architect. We, as you remember from economic development, we applied or hired him to do some conceptual work for us for the downtown placemaking. We did the survey, and he will be presenting a culmination of his first semester's findings for that project. So I'm going to hand it off to you, Milo, and everybody can. Are you sharing the screen?
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Yep, there we go.
Can you see it?
Thank you.
Yes. Awesome. Hello, everybody. My name is Milo, as Ginger has said. This will be just a short, quick presentation about some of my findings during my first semester and what I'll be building off of moving into my second semester this spring. It is considered a downtown sort of like revamp project, and these are some of the objectives that I'll be going over today. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. I am attending UW-Madison on a scholarship. I am a candidate for the Bachelor's of Landscape Architecture, and I am inspired by creating a more sustainable future. So a little bit about the downtown redesign. I'm sure you're familiar with the occasion. This is, I guess I should have prefaced this. This is like what I would be giving in Madison, so maybe a little bit more redundancy than you all would need. But the project location of interest consists of North Water Street, parts of Pearl Street, and that Bernager River Walk, and parts of that extension. Some of the stakeholders of the project include you all and some other local business owners. Why the project? So as I've spoken with Ginger and Chad, it seems like there's a purpose to I need to repurpose some vacant lots on some of the street, and help sort of push the city a bit with the times without compromising some of its historical character and aesthetic that is, what it's known for. Some of the goals that I'm hoping to accomplish is to just provide additional green space access to some of the residents, enhance and connect some of the existing river walks, develop an outdoor space in conjunction with for the new beer garden that's slated to be constructed, and improve some of the parking vehicular circulation along that area and Pearl Street and like the Riverwalk with that new construction, and just the potential of repurposing some of those additional surface lots on North Water Street. Some of the programmatic elements that I'm hoping to implement in here, the upper left being that sort of conjunction project with Kim, expanding and connecting some of the existing Riverwalks, additional public art initiatives, some green space for leisure activity, having the opportunity to find dining opportunities along these downtown corridors, and additional green spaces for respite, and those would be considered pocket parks. A little bit about the site history, and so that would be where I go to school down there in the southern part of Dane County, and then you all are located up in that upper region on the Wapaka and Outagamie boundary. A little bit about the history, just who was here before. Um, some of the notable settlers that I got from the um, historical society that you all have, most notably noting Williamson, Lucius Taft, Aaron Grader Smith, given that he gave New London the name that it has today. Um, and some of those other initiatives that really pushed the city into being what it is today, and William Hatton having really industrialized some of the um, steamboat and railway systems, because I think is notable to how we got here. Some of the regional analysis that goes into this. So just noting some of the green space that is existing, so surrounding the city and within the city boundary, and then most notably within the project boundary. Some of the floodplain analysis, so the striped um, red areas would be considered regulatory floodways, which is just another way of saying like moving water. And then the light blue would be a 1% annual chance flood rate, which is considered a 100-year flood storm rain event. And then the surrounding orange areas would be it's labeled as a 2% annual flood chance, and that would be a 500-year storm event, areas that would be susceptible to some of that. Being conscious of that and then planning with some of these constrictions in mind is important. And then noting some of the land type associations given by the DNR within the project confines, we're most notably focusing on the Partridge Lake Plain, and then these are some of the characteristics that fall within those different things. Most notably being the moderate draining soil, and then some of the common habitats that fall within the logical land type. A little bit about the community, some of the things that I was able to note. These are some of the land uses. So, especially in that downtown corridor is primarily some of the commercial and convenience land use. And then second, the surrounding areas, I would say is most notably some of the residential land uses being primarily the 1 to 2 family residents. And then this is an overall demographic image that was sent to me by you all. Some of the things that I think are key to focus on are the population age, so noting where people are in their lives. The majority of the population between ages 18 and 65, and then almost 20% being over that age of 65, and about 20% being under the age of 18. So with the median age being 40 years old, noting the needs of this demographic, I think is important. People have began to establish, if not have already established families. So meeting the needs, meeting people where they're at, and providing assets to their benefit is important. And then noting the median disposable income, you don't want any, I would hate for any of my proposed ideas to pose a potential financial burden to the community. So being mindful about accessibility is important. And then just population and the annual growth rate. So I think focusing on retention, I think is important while exploring some of the potential design in this project. Some of the existing conditions, you all are familiar with the area, so I may not spend too much time here, but some of how North Water Street looks, the Bernager Riverwalk, the extended Riverwalk that I don't believe has a name, that new apartment development right there on Pearl Street, adjacent to where the proposed beer garden will be, the beer garden, some of Kim's plans and that space between Lively Nutrition and the Wolf River Pub also being one of the vacant lots of interest. And then on the site specifically, so just revisiting some of the programmatic elements that I'm hoping to explore within the design. Along North Water Street, it's been noted as a historical district of interest, so preservation of character and aesthetic most important here, noting the Grand's state. I know it's vacant right now. So if there is no investor in the building, is slated to be demolished, to my knowledge. So planning for potential use of that area if needed, but then also potentially planning for maybe the salvation of that building because of its iconic sort of silhouette that it has along the historic corridor, I think is important. So providing some variability and flexibility in the design for you all. Noting some of the unconnected green spaces, and then finding some potential to connect these areas. And then just a brief summary in visual form of some of the things that I've just gone over. Some of the um, areas are labeled here. And then some of the precedents that I've gone based off of. So I looked at examples from within Wisconsin, within the country, and then internationally. So within Wisconsin, I've looked at the Al Johnson Swedish restaurant. It's up in Door County. I think it had really great um, examples to pull from. But I think the focus that I've chosen for this presentation would be the Independence Beer Garden in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, just because of its limited space. And so the efficiency of how they use that, I think, is really well done. They've pulled together a variety of different elements with public art and some of the rustic reused materials and like the bar area, and adding additional elements for seasonality by implementing some of the fireplaces. So really pulling and learning from what they've done successfully, and then trying to implement it in some of the areas along my project's boundary. So some of the recommendations that I've extended finding so far, I've presented two different framework plans, which is, I guess, just the new word of master plan. The design aspect happens the second semester, so these are just concepts, and then actual detailed renderings of these things would be coming soon in the spring. But for this one, focus on more of a naturalistic approach, connecting all of the green spaces along the Pearl Street, along the Wolf Edge, um, repurposing maybe the Grand's footprint in the event of demolition to be one of those pocket park opportunities, collaborating for a more naturalistic approach on the outdoor beer garden area, and then a more naturalistic approach also for that vacant lot between the Lively Nutrition and the Wolf River Pub. And then these are just those concepts in visual form. Most notably, I've proposed in this naturalistic framework a potential bridge boardwalk that could be uh, implemented along this sort of crevice here, but then also allowing for a path to still go around in the event that maybe you're with your children and they don't like heights, or for whatever the case may be. I think flexibility is important. And then just noting some of the aesthetics here and implementing some more trees and greenery along North Water Street, while maintaining the historical aesthetic and trying not to obscure some of the front faces of these things, but just trying to increase some of the close encounters that we might have with some greenery. The second framework focuses more like a historical sort of approach, and implementing a lot more signage. So when I visited the city, I went with and Ginger on a historical tour down the corridor, and I learned a lot about the significance of some of these buildings and a lot of the rich history that is held there. And I think paying homage to that all year round, I think could serve some fit to some of the visitors and even locals that might not have some of the significance of these buildings, I think is important. And then similarly, implementing some key like memorial signages along the Riverwalk, along that Wolf River edge. And then in this proposal, most notably, it is we're repurposing this surface lot across from the currently the library but to my understanding, it'll become a sole museum, creating maybe a walkthrough interchangeable display, sort of what's hinted down in the lower right, I think is important. And then some of the signage is what I've been to along North River Street. So just paying more respect and homage to some of the history and its character, and a little less I guess aggressive green transformations. Still revamping some of this, making it feel new. And then the beer space area being more of like a rustic approach, so using a little bit more weathered materials, kind of like brick and maybe aluminum, just to sort of blend the scenery a bit more, and sort of having, I guess, sort of these stark differences. You want it all to transition well. And then this is just a brief comparison between the two. The green would provide more or less approximately 6% more green space, 21% less parking. Um, I'm not a New London resident, so parking may or may not be a deal breaker for you all, but the other framework would 78% more plaques. It'll focus more on like rustic character preservation and the like. And then some of the things that I'll be focusing on for semester 2, sorry, there it is, would be the design refinement, plan scheduling, and some of the image renderings and the like. And then eventually the final, more updated presentation than what I've just given you all, hopefully graduation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Milo, for that quick summary. I have met with him and we went over that already. Is there we did question and answer at that time. I don't know if anybody else has any questions or feedback for him. But you're more than welcome to do so. I don't know. I know that Belinda, this is part of the Economic Development Committee and you are the chair, so I think that, some feedback from that committee would be also garnered.
Yeah, no, I am loving what I'm seeing, quite honestly. It's obviously a lot more than I would have thought of myself, but I'm not going for the degree.
I was like, oh wow.
Exactly. That's kind of how I'm feeling. I'm wondering, is this presentation available for us? Is recorded, so we'll be able to take a look at it? I feel like I need to look at it more.
Either that, or I have the digital file that he sent
Okay.
me, and if it's all right with you, Milo, I'd share that with the Economic Development Committee as well.
Absolutely. I've also sent a booklet copy. So the presentation that I've given doesn't have a lot of word for context. So there's a booklet version that has a lot more of written explanations, and it has an abstract and things like that.
And I love the historical signage plaque. That is
something I would have never thought of.
No, and as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh well, yeah,
right.
That's a kind of a no-brainer there.
And that ties into when we walked through the downtown with that gentleman from Wisconsin Development Committee, and how he was like, hey, this is historic, and that, and we didn't, I don't know, but yeah.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, very impressive at this point in time what Milo has done. But just a couple of things to keep in context. Number one, you might have noticed that his boundaries are expanded a little bit more than what we originally talked about. And Milo, to your point, that was for your class project because you had some input that you should expand it just so you got a little bit more coverage in the city instead of just a small little area. Number one, so he's done that for his project for his class. And then number two, there were a couple little comments about certain things, like for example, in the last 6 months, there was some rumors and some information from the owner that maybe the theater was going to be demoed. I know Milo mentioned that. I don't want anybody on social media to just take that and say that's happening. That's not a case right now. I mean, we don't have any information that the theater is going to be demoed, so I want to make that crystal clear. But at least for the class project, I mean, he can explore different options or something like that. So wanted to make that point crystal clear, not somebody grabs and runs with that comment. So But otherwise, very, very good.
No, and I did like seeing it expanded and seeing more of the Riverwalk and adjoining. It never even occurred to me to look at the back side of Hilker Trucking Riverwalk area. Never even occurred to me because to me that's a trucking area.
Right.
So, but I mean, it would be a nice area to develop and easily done. So,
That area's been talked about before about putting a walk in the river
Boardwalk,
and
yeah.
going underneath the Shawnee Street Bridge,
mhm.
because that bridge was raised higher to make room to go under there, but if the water's high,
Right.
obviously you're not going there. But that was considered cost prohibitive at the time to make a boardwalk along the river there.
I still like the idea.
Yeah, it's.
And maybe
it would look
someday it
nice.
won't be,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, cool.
so.
All right.
Anybody got anything else? Thanks, Milo.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. Thank you. See you later.
Hey, Ginger, animal special events?
Okay, so I know we had brought this up at a previous meeting and you asked me to go back and do a little bit more research and talk to our attorney and Chief Schleter. I brought Chief Schleter on board with us tonight to answer any questions on this. I know that previously I'd spoke about, you know, the user groups that we talked to the Lions Club, the Chamber of Commerce, the Youth Sports Association. And this was kind of the leaning side, that they were leaning on. So went through and, talked about, allowing, we've narrowed it down to allowing, cats and dogs, and that's it. I think that once you bring in other species, you're gonna enter into different kinds of phobias, diseases that are where people are unsure of right now. And so cats and dogs, that's domesticated, having a leash law, very similar to what we have with the parks. So that is not really anything new to our city. And then, just, it's a flip, and I think that it'll be very welcome, especially from the user groups, but I don't know, Chief, if you wanna speak a little bit on your behalf.
Sure, I think what this makes it more realistic as to what really happens in our city with the ordinances. The current ordinance that we have sounds great on paper. The problem is no one follows it. And as far as the police department goes, we attend a lot of the special events, but we're not there all the time. And then we get a lot of people complaining. It's hard for us to enforce, you know, even down at Pfeiffer Park. You know, they're not supposed to be down there at the baseball game, but yet it's a park and people are walking through the park with their dog. And some people get excited about it and want us to come and enforce it. I think what this does is it keeps the animals under control. It gives us the out that if they are not under control, we can enforce that. That's easy for us to go down there on a call. But it's just not realistic for us to be there during all special events. We just don't have the manpower for it. St. Patrick's Day is a great example of that. During the parade, there's numerous dogs around. We're all tied up with the parade or in patrol during that time. After the parade and everything's gone, most of the animals are gone anyway. So I think this is a good alternative to also to get the job done compared to what we have right now.
And when we met, Chief and I met with Attorney Steckbauer, he gave that explanation. He said, then so why wouldn't we do it like this? So he had no concerns, and really,
This requires you to keep your animal under control.
right.
It requires everything that we would expect at any event, so.
How does this match up with some of the other towns around here for their special events?
I think this is probably fairly common. What there is, I'm sure there's I haven't looked.
Yeah, I
I
did.
guess there's a wide variety, but
Yeah.
I would think this would be a very common thing, especially with having special events in our parks and stuff. To still allow people that aren't necessarily going to the special events. Good example would be Rock and Corn Fest. It's right in front of the stadium. A lot of people still want to take their dogs for a walk around the stadium. They got them on leash and stuff. And it'd be tough to do that while an event's going on.
Is there any liability from the city that now we're allowing it to happen?
Well, they're still required to be on leash and everything, so I think that it keeps the same standard essentially as what we had before. We're not allowing dogs to run wild, we're not allowing vicious dogs to be there. The owner is still required to keep the dog under control, they're still liable for their animal. So I believe Attorney Steckbauer kind of recommended this ordinance along with what we see, that, okay, they can be there, but you're responsible for keeping them under control. We're not saying you can take them off leash or anything else.
Yeah,
The only issue I see sometimes is that like ballparks, kids are throwing balls around and
Oh,
dogs
yeah.
get them. You know, they like chasing balls and stuff.
Yep. Well, there's responsible to be on a leash, so that would be something that we could enforce if we had to. There's always gonna be some people out there. I do believe we may have an ordinance that deals with allowing a dog like in the park, if it's under your control to like play fetch. But, for the most part, I think this would be a good alternative.
Okay, thanks.
I wanna know, when we passed the first law, we passed it, we put up signs, and it was not, people weren't following it at all. I wanna know how we're going to enforce the new one. 'Cause at different ball games, at different events, there was always animals down there, none of them were on leashes. I don't know, I walk every morning, I know how much crap is on the sidewalks from people that walk their dogs and don't pick it up now. How are we gonna enforce, if we can't enforce now, how are we gonna enforce?
So I would disagree with you that the most of the dogs are on the leash during the special events and stuff. I don't know if I've seen any dogs really running loose at those events.
I have,
And, there may be a couple here and there, especially in the parks, I think is our biggest problems, but
Yeah.
like at St. Patrick's Day, they're all on leash during that time. Anytime we get I know we've probably had a few walking down at the, I still want to call it Cheese and Sausage Fest,
Oh,
but
Fall
Fall
Family
Fall
Fest, yeah.
Family Fest. But most of those dogs are on leash. I'm not gonna say it's never happened or it doesn't happen, but I would say majority are. If they're not on leash, that's something that we can enforce if we're there. They can give us a call, but I'm guessing you'd see compliance from most people.
what I've seen was at ball games, such as softball games and stuff, very few dogs that were there, if any, were on leashes.
Hmm.
And we had signs at the entrance to the park. We had signs on the backstop until that fell over. And it was never really followed.
Yeah, what I'm saying in a lot of these events, we're not present at them. So unless we get called to them, we typically aren't there. It's hard for us to go out and patrol all the baseball games and stuff. The difference between then and now is that the animal they weren't supposed to be there at all. And now we're allowing them to be there, but under leash. And we're hoping that people will comply with it. If not, if we get an individual that does it, all it takes is one phone call to the police department. We send someone down there and we take care of it.
and the tournament coordinators or the youth softball league, and baseball league, they're the ones that need to help us help them. So those conversations are had every spring. We say, these are the park rules and you have to abide by these park rules. So I'll make a note of that to make sure that that's something that we stay cognizant of during the 2025 season. So that they know this rule has changed. Please let they can include it in the tournament packet. They can include it in their packet with the schedule for the coming year. So we'll definitely make note of that.
Anybody else have any questions or answers about it? Otherwise, I'd look for consider approval of an amendment to section 9.41 of the animal at special events. Look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve amendment to section 9.41 animals at special events as presented. I'll second it.
Motion been made by John, seconded by Bernie. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Yeah, I guess the next one will be Luke and Ginger.
Yeah, I'll start
Archie?
us off here. Thank you so much.
Yep. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, Chief.
There's been internal discussions about the property out at, by the J.C.'s Dog Park. That property is stewardship property, which means that it should be in park use. Was purchased, to be used as parkland. As you can see now, it's kind of a refuge site for, past construction. We no longer allow this to be done. But it's created quite a mess, and that'll be brought up at a Public Works Committee meeting, in the future. There have been requests that we look into having an archery range, so I brought in my archery expert. And he did some research. I kind of did the back, like, the work of making sure that CIVMIC is knows what's going on, knows that we're having this conversation. The loss control manager and I went over rules and policies on the amenity. He gave me a list of suggested rules. We would not be the only city in the world that has an archery range on their property. And municipalities within the CIVMIC community that have archery ranges include Germantown, Reedsburg, Neenah, and New Berlin. Spoke with those departments. Very similar setups that Luke's gonna provide for you right now. So I guess I'll give the floor to Luke and just kind of give you his rundown of what he's found.
For the record, I'm not. Like Ginger had mentioned, she reached out to some communities. I did as well, including Shiocton, Kaukauna, Appleton. It's a very straightforward, very simple archery range presentation kind of thing. It would look somewhat similar to what Shiocton currently has right now. I also spoke with Sarah Knapp over in Shiocton. She's the chief of police over there. Just looking at the safety standpoint and any issues that she's had over the years with hers. And although they do have video cameras to help with the rifle and gun range, she, for the most part, says that they have very little problems when it comes to archery. Just to explain, the area behind the target would be an earthen berm. That would be little to no cost because of some of the materials that we already currently have out at what we call Wadhams. I guess ultimately price wise, we got quotes on.
Sure. Can I have I'll scroll through this for now. Sorry.
Yeah.
So here's just some more conceptuals.
Majority of the work could be done in-house, fairly simple. It's all flat work, 5 slabs, 8x4 by 4 inches thick concrete slabs for the targets. And you got a 26 by 12 4-inch slab for the shelter protection pavilion, whatever you want to call it. And then 5 targets, moral targets. There's I don't know how many makers of targets out there. Morel is just one of the more popular ones. A lot of the, I can't call them local, but Butch's Archery, Critters Archery, Old 45, I'm not sure if they deal with these, but a lot of surrounding areas or surrounding archery vendors deal with a lot of the targets. Really simple work. Driveways in and around coming up to the archery range, which just consists of just a regular 3/4 stone road base. Simple, easy. And with that, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so I just, going over some of the rules, that typical archery ranges have, hours are dusk to dawn. Usually typically they do under age 16 must be accompanied by an adult. These are all just things that other communities have.
I have a question on the hours, dusk to dawn or dawn to dusk?
Dawn to dusk.
Okay,
I was thinking the light.
Yeah,
Like that.
no, that, I was just like,
And I'm dyslexic, so. You would only use a target point, is that what they're called?
Field point.
Field point, no broadheads or razor points, obviously no firearms are allowed even on site, so, yeah, this is just what we found, just a thought. I did reach out to the Boy Scouts, they said, yeah, this would be a great Eagle project. They didn't say, I got an Eagle Scout that wants to do this project, but they did say that this would be something at that level. Also, I know Luke's been working with DNR staff and they said there's, right, plenty of grants available.
Endless, yeah, and not only, ATA is the American Trade Association, they also work, they also offer grants and funding, but they work through your local state, WDNR,
Wow.
stuff like that. But yeah, there are some awesome grants out there available for.
Any supervision when guys are shooting? Is there gonna be anybody there to make sure they're,
No,
say,
they
shooting down range?
typically
and
don't.
nobody? No?
Majority of them don't.
How far apart are the targets?
Up to 36 inches roughly, so as you're standing in the shelter or the pavilion.
I mean, how far apart are the targets from
Oh,
one
Oh,
here,
another?
here.
out in the range?
Yes,
It varies, it all varies on who's shooting. If you have young, because you can move those on those pads, the structures themselves that protect the targets are considerably narrower than the pads, so you can move those accordingly. So you can fit up to 2 archers per target, you know, if you're shooting with younger children, obviously with an adult. There really is no standard as far as distance apart.
I was just thinking for safety reasons.
Yeah,
There's not gonna be much.
No,
They
cause
only
somebody,
26 feet wide, and if you got 5 targets, that
yeah, this
Yeah,
is just conceptual, so I mean, you could do whatever you wanted to.
I thought I saw in their crossbows would be allowed.
No,
No crossbows?
Yep.
typically not.
it says crossbows.
Crossbows.
I thought I saw
Not
cross-
broadheads.
Yeah,
Oh.
broadheads,
No
yeah,
broadheads.
yeah.
Crossbows,
Yeah.
yeah, and just through reading through a lot of the ATA guidelines that they kind of set forth, those are designed, unless they're these smaller, up to 30-pound crossbows for younger adults, children. Those can be used on the closer targets, but the 40 and 50-yard targets are typically set aside for crossbows because they're shooting over 400 feet per second nowadays.
They do more damage to targets.
The CIVMIC rules that they gave us said crossbows are prohibited. So I don't know, that's just a suggestion. There's some communities that allow them and some that don't.
CIVMIC is saying they don't want crossbows?
That was in their list, yeah.
There's actually different targets for crossbows versus longbows.
Sure.
Recurves.
Correct. These moral targets that I've kind of just started researching, they will accept, they'll take up to, I think it was 420 feet per second, so you can use compound and crossbows on these targets. But yes, they do, because they're shorter bolts, they're shorter arrows, they do a little bit more damage, and then the kinetic energy in them is considerably more than what a compound bow would be.
But you're seeing a lot more usage of that. And more every year. Crossbows. Absolutely.
100%, yeah,
Yep.
just out there
100%.
in Shiocton when I met with the chief of police, there were people out there, and that's the only thing that was out there.
Do you think we should consider like you made mention, Luke, that we have a lot of fill on site? Should we consider some kind of sidewalls down the side. For two reasons, you could have somebody out playing around and come walking in from the side. If that was encapsulated in a full berm all the way around. I know
Yes.
Appleton's got that, they got walls on
Yes.
both sides. Yep. I mean, just would create one more thing, so somebody to come cruising in sideways or.
Well, and if it's near the dog park too,
Yeah.
then that would be.
Where is it gonna be in consideration of this hiking trail?
It would be to the east. You can see the concrete pile, that's the rubbish pile that's out there. To the east of the walking trail,
Oh, so you're quite a
almost
ways-
kind of where Chad has his cursor. Obviously, that's movable because there's some things that need to be determined on the rubbish pile.
I think for sure we would want sidewalls, I think.
Sides, yes.
Yeah, that's a good
Yes.
idea.
You're about 100 yards away from that hiking trail, 75 for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
You never know if somebody's gonna pull something back or hit the trigger wrong and
Of course.
Right.
hit the stand for one of the covers and then you got a ricochet.
Mhm.
I think that'd be an easy change.
Just from the general layout, it would be shooting
250.
to the south of the rubbish pile.
Mm.
Kind of southeast, I guess you'd say,
Cause that house is way down over here.
way down towards.
Yep. Oh, I just,
That was one of the first things I thought of, was the gentleman that lived back there. And there's the row of trees also, natural, protection, I guess, the row of trees by the railroad tracks as well. And then south of that is nothing but trees.
I think it'd be well used.
I would agree.
Yeah, earth and berm, I agree, on three sides for sure.
Any other comments on the,
I think the community could really use this. Frequently, actually, out my back door, I see the neighbor's kids shooting bow in their backyard. There's nowhere for them to shoot. We own land in the city. We can set up targets safely. But other people that want to get their kids outside away from the video games, who want to go do something with them, maybe they don't have access to facilities to do that, except for maybe once or twice a year. I think this would be a great thing for the community, and it's cheap to do.
yeah, there's a lot of shooting done in town. You drive around town, you see targets all over in backyard.
Right, so
you
let's give
know
them a
about
safer
that.
place to do it instead of sending one through someone else's car.
Right.
Is there an archery range at the New London Fish and Game Club?
Pardon?
Is there an archery range at the New London
Yes.
Fish and Game Club?
That one's a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's more of a, you can get up in stands up in the air and shoot down. It's more of a course, I guess, than I would say a range.
You have to be a member to shoot there.
Yes.
They have a 3D course and then they have a plain target course, kind of like what we just looked at. But either way, you need a membership. And,
The other thing you could do, we're concerned about crossbows, you can put in the rules, if you're gonna shoot a crossbow, bring your own target. Believe, no.
I'm just
Who's
saying.
thought? I
Is
would.
there
if that
ambiguous?
was
Somebody's gonna show up with a crossbow and they're gonna say, oh,
I was wondering if we could get some history on this piece of property. I mean, I know we've used it for storage of docks or something like that. I mean, is this
Yeah.
the property, what is this property used in the past?
So the property was purchased with stewardship funds through the DNR in the purpose of having outdoor recreation. That's what Knowles Nelson stewardship funds are given for. The previous public works director saw the vacant land and said, oh, I can dump concrete here. And so it's been a concrete dump, asphalt dump. Since we've all been, I mean, I bet that they stopped dumping there, I would say, in the early 2000s. And yeah, do you know,
It's making use of another dump site.
Don't you still dump snow down there?
just snow? And that's in that blank area to the northeast.
That's our primary snow dump. And then we also utilize the bare gravel parking lot looking just to the west of the rubbish pile. Right in there a little bit.
The other question is, if they start to grind trees, where are they gonna put mulch?
In that southern lot.
And that's
That's where it is right now. we would still be able to utilize that space.
There's a lot of room out there.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
if you bring up, yeah, how much.
There is a
how many
lot of
acres
room out
are
there.
it's a lot.
I wouldn't even, so that 26 feet wide, Luke, is that something what they all were kind of standard?
There really is no standard. You build, communities build what they want, I guess. I'm just, like I said, I was kind of going off of Shiocton's. Just because I've used Shiocton's range many times. And that was, and I was trying to keep it as simple as possible.
Plenty of room?
Plenty of room. And I'm
Okay.
I'm a bigger guy,
Yep.
and I've been out there, with a half a dozen people. In the compound and crossbow guys and gals, of course. Etiquette, I think, is very good. There's a lot of respect out there. Same thing with the rifle and the gun range over there. And as far as policing goes, I think the responsible hunters, compound crossbow users will step up. And, and if there is somebody doing something wrong, I think we have a good community, and I think, we'll step up and say something.
We see that a lot out at the dog park as well.
Yes.
They police themselves out there very well. If there's somebody doing something, if there's a dog out there that needs to be removed because it's not a good dog, they'll call me and say, hey, there's a owner here that brings his dog and lets it attack other dogs, and so I think when you do a specific amenity, recreational amenity like this, where specific groups of people go to use it, like Luke said, it's a community, and they tend to police themselves very well.
And I'll correct myself. The only time it's standards with dimensions and pads and all that is if you want to shoot tournaments and national competitions and that, but then you get into, ginormous ranges.
I think it's a great idea.
Is there gonna be a fee to use that?
Some communities do and some communities don't,
Cause I know you go over to Shark, it costs you $10
right?
Even for the archery?
for all of it.
Correct, yes, $10. Daily use fee. You can buy an annual fee. I
And
forget
it
what I pay for the
used to
annual.
be 2.
And included in that price, I did have, Luke did print out, or price out, like a pay station type of Iron Ranger, like we used to have down at the boat launch, where we would have the envelope style, with a permit, and then put the money in the envelope and stick it in the Iron Ranger, so.
What would the cost of one of them electronic ones be that we have out down there?
Chad, you priced those out, do you remember?
Several thousand.
I mean, that's-
Yeah, plus we need our power for
Wi-Fi.
A substation right there.
You got lights at the dog park, so it doesn't power flows. I mean,
I can't remember, our current bolt launch, are they cell phone or we got it on Wi-Fi?
They do cell phone,
Cell phone.
Cell phone, so.
no Wi-Fi.
So I just know the New London Fishing Game Club, it's like, I think 25 per person, 45 for a family for the year for a membership. So it's not,
Yeah,
a lot.
Correct.
I think $10 would be. I wouldn't,
That'd be too much.
I think anything more than $3 is too much.
a daily, or are you talking seasonal?
$3 per day.
Kind of like they did with the city dump, where you can buy an annual permit and you have the ability to use it, just no key card, just you
Yeah.
paid it, but then you'll get a lot of freeloaders that just show up too, because it's not gated or anything. Personally, as a citizen, I want to use it, so I'm gonna come in every year and pay my fee because I want the targets maintained and I want the roof over my head.
So I guess tonight we were just looking for interest. We were just looking for a head nod to continue the conversation, research those grants a little bit more. And move forward with potentially being able to present at a capital projects probably committee.
I think it's a good idea. I think most of the people here, I think I'm nodding heads. I think it's, pretty much I see, keep on looking into whatever they're doing. Sounds good to me.
Great. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
consider approval for agreement with Wapaka County Meal Site. Ginger.
Okay, if you've been here before, you know this is just a standard thing that we go through every year with Wapaka County. Notice the fee of, $219 per month for the use of the building, Monday through Friday, 9 to 1 PM. This has been going really well. They are now fully staffed. They do now congregate meals Monday through Thursday still. They're not, in Fridays yet, but I spoke with Lori about it. I said, do you have anything that you want to present? She said, nope, everything's going well. So I do plan to speak with the meal site coordinator and talk to her about just being on board, being a letter of support to apply for a grant to purchase or refurbish the kitchen area. So we'll be working together on that this year, hopefully. Other than that, it's kind of status quo. Just to note that $218 a month is quite low. They gave this to me on December, I think it was 6th, and said they need it back December 10th. And I said, I can't do that, but we'll do it, at this meeting. And I will put a little note in my calendar to have a conversation with them about just, where we're at for rental and use. I hate to raise the fee or the rent, but it's an old one. I mean, it's been $219 since the conception of the program. So just a thought, just to see what are other communities charging and things like that for a similar agreement. But other than that,
So are you looking for the approval or?
yep, yeah.
Yeah, I look for a motion to approve the agreement with Wapaka County site.
I'll make a motion to approve agreement with Pack County meal site facility use.
Second.
Motion been made by John and seconded by John. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Jerry,
Thank you.
updates, Ginger.
What is enclosed in my packet, and then I have just 2 additional things that I wanna touch on. I had been fielding questions about why we removed the snowflakes when we did. Just wanna report, our typical schedule is as weather and staff allows. We do remove the holiday decorations immediate weeks following the new year. If we have the staff and the weather is favorable, they come down as soon as possible to allow us to prepare for winter weather. If and when a big snow would come, our crews would be extremely busy with that, and then they could stay up, and they have stayed up through March, which we don't want. Wear and tear on those are very expensive decorations to be just sitting out in the weather. That isn't as big of a concern now with the new ones. They're a little bit sturdier than the old ones, but we've learned that with these new ones, they catch a little bit more wind because they stick out and they shake. And that shaking also, Robert has brought to my attention, affects those poles, those light poles. So we kind of want to keep them off, get them off the poles before any major storms come. We also found that the bands that the company that sold them to us suggested we use were not they weren't durable enough, and we were finding them snapped and hanging. We had to replace several during this time. So the last one that snapped, we said, all right, it's after winter, let's pull them down, get new bands for next winter, and just go from there. So that is why they are down, and it's week 1 of the new year. So the other thing I wanted to mention, I heard a little bit before the meeting, I am keeping an eye on the Wolf River Dam. Shawano County reported that the Wolf River Dam, above the Shawano Lake, Balsam Road Dam, not familiar with it at all, but there was a generator failure. The dam is not currently operating properly. They wanted us to know that this can lead to unstable water levels for the rest of the winter. The dam operators are meeting and working with the DNR this morning or this is my report from this morning. They are working to come up with the best course of action. They have put on their Facebook page that this is gonna affect the ice conditions up there. Spoke with John. I don't know, if you wanna speak a little bit to that, but, and how it could possibly affect us down here. You know, there's a dam in between, Shawano Lake in between, but, as we all know, the Shawano Dam does affect our water, so.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna have to wait to see how much of a fluctuation they're talking.
Right,
I mean, if they're kind of putting a warning out up there, it will have some impact down here, but typically, I guess we're gonna have to wait and see, but if I had property along there, what I would do is definitely make note of it today and take some photos and then kind of keep an eye on it because
one of their biggest concerns was the raising and leveling and the steady ice. And then if you go on that ice that doesn't have water under it currently, you're obviously gonna, you know, that breaches the strength of the ice, so
as far as for recreational safety, fishermen should really
stay off for now.
take
Yeah.
note of it.
Yeah.
And because that shoreline ice situation is always
It's always sketchy, yeah.
where it would affect Park and Rec committee here infrastructure wise is if it would raise up 3 feet. And which it does in the spring, and when they start holding back water for their recreation in Shawano Lake, we can have torrential rainfalls and still see a significant drop in our water here, and then we can have the opposite where we have no rain for 4 weeks and we see a 3-foot rise in the water level down here. And that's kind of the dam. But if that were to happen in the winter here now, and that constant, say the water is way up high by the Veterans Memorial, and those railings on the catwalk are underwater, then the water it drops and then comes back up, freezes again, drops, freezes again. There's gonna be these huge ice cakes on things, holding it, weighting it down,
Especially as cold as it is right now.
and the concrete seawall might start to get affected. And that's speculation on,
And also.
if you
yeah,
have a
extreme
huge swing
case, but-
in water level.
Yeah.
That's not normal, like every couple weeks on a natural type high low. Even if it is dam influenced, but if it was like. They seem like they really don't know what's going on, what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Till they monitor it, but. If that was to happen a lot more frequently, like every other day or even twice a week, then some of your shoreline rocks are gonna get picked up, displaced, moved down.
Oh, yeah.
Your riprap's gonna take more of a wear and tear, all your stuff. And it's gonna be even, well, unfortunate for recreational anglers.
Shawano Lake people would be probably more affected by it than
Right,
anyone else would.
Yeah.
Shawano Lake.
yeah, for sure. So, speaking of riprap, I have 2 items I'm reporting on right now for the director's report that you saw in your, packets. Just quick, I did follow up with the Twin Rivers group. They thought that riprap created a berm that held the water back from coming onto their property. So I explained to them how that water still flows over the stone. And it doesn't necessarily create a barrier. The property does have, it's got a couple sinkholes that I'm gonna have somebody look at, but otherwise, from the DNR. But otherwise, it's got established native grass, which the DNR wants. They could use some, just, I wanna see it when the water's high. Because they do have, obviously, it comes up over, I would say, to the little bush that I can see, yeah. Yeah, a little bit higher than that even, yeah, up to there, I would say. You can see a water line. So I'll keep an eye on it for them. The one thing that I really noticed was all the dead ash along the river line. So that's definitely something that we're gonna have to look at and do some removals. We'd contract that work out. But that's all ash along there, so. And then,
You take those ash trees out of there,
yeah,
they're gonna want the city to plant more trees on their property.
probably.
That's bull.
Probably. And then also Pfeiffer Park, I was contacted by a sturgeon biologist, kind of an interesting conversation that I'll be having with him. They did put a receiver over at Pfeiffer to monitor sturgeon. They think that this would be a great location for an updated habitat. They said our riprap is too small along there for the sturgeon to lay their eggs and then for the eggs to develop into little baby sturgeons. So they would like to put a larger rock in like they did at Memorial Park. The eggs that are laying along the embarrass there are typically usually just eaten by other fish, so. Yeah, so that's exciting.
The rock that goes along the
That's-
river
That's Mother
has to
Nature.
be so big.
Yeah, yep.
It can't be really big.
It would be the 24-inch rock. Is ideal for sturgeon habitat.
That's so that the eggs get inside of the rocks, and then the suckers and the other fish that are coming up can't get the eggs.
Even
They get down
themselves,
in the rocks and so make
Creates
better
crevices
habitat
and-
for sturgeon.
And the DNR would be the ones doing this?
Yep, it would be all, I don't remember when they did Memorial Park, but apparently that was a very similar project where it was all covered by them, so.
Yeah, that
Nice-
was
be a
within the
nice
last 10
viewing
years.
area.
Did you, yeah, you did that, yeah,
They would get that sturgeon to spawn there, they have another sturgeon trail.
right,
That-
right,
Oh, they,
another viewing spot.
Yeah.
would be-
they do spawn there, it's just that their eggs don't.
I
Make
don't
it.
see, yeah, I never see them when I go over there to look, but, yeah. Well, that's about it, anything else from me?
Last night at our Department of Public Works meeting, Mr. Roberts brought up about all the good publicity about our snowflakes, I really liked them.
Yep,
And he said last night, what about thinking about like during St. Patty's Day, put some shamrocks up or think of a few more seasonal opportunities to put some lights in. And I went home and thought of that last night. And I thought that's a pretty good idea.
it would look cool, they're very expensive.
Why can't we just leave the snowflakes up through the winter? Cause a snowflake doesn't represent Christmas.
Right, so as I mentioned, the wear and tear on them and the wear and tear on the pole is Robert's and my concern. Those are very expensive poles and the shaking. Next winter, go down there on a windy day and watch them once. It's terrifying. And
They're supposed to be engineered to.
yeah, yeah, they are.
I mean,
So, I mean, we can test it out. It's our first year, we got them, so.
Put some leprechauns on the poles.
I do like that idea. I think that would be a great,
If we had a sponsor that wanted to donate $35,000 a season to do that, absolutely. But my capital funds are not that deep.
That's what it was, 35 grand for those.
Yep.
lights.
You ain't gonna get the taxpayers to foot that bill.
And we got a
Change it
grant.
For the season.
We did get a grant to help us finance.
Yep. Yeah,
We got a was it $50,000 grant?
Yes.
We got a $50,000 grant from the Fox Cities Community Foundation that Taylor Marilyn Wolt Foundation. That gave us $50,000 to help us pay for lights and other downtown improvements. So we're gonna be using that for some more of the facade improvement or the streetscaping improvements for the downtown.
But I mean, you do have your Shamrock Club and your Lions Club at times are looking to spend some money in communities. I just thought it was a great idea.
It was definitely a good idea.
And it don't necessarily have to be as in big a volume, you know, it can be every other or something to help cut some costs. I mean,
They don't have to light up necessarily.
I would like to see the bridges have smaller snowflakes next year. But yeah, I can add it to my list of things that would,
Maybe
we would
reach
benefit
out to
from.
the company with the snowflakes and see if they offer Shamrock.
They've got everything. They make them by order. So if you said, I want shamrocks, they could bend the metal and tie the like.
you might be surprised if somebody would be interested in helping.
Oh my gosh, the shamrocks would be the funnest thing. Yeah. So,
Just thought I'd bring that up since it was
Yeah.
mentioned last night. Robert told us to.
yeah, he was in my office first thing. I'm like, what do you want? Yep. Yep. It's good.
Anything for potential agenda?
In February, I'll be bringing the comprehensive outdoor rec plan contract, that you approved at the capital, finance, capital meeting, to the committee. And then, something else I've been meaning to bring up and just say, and maybe I have, but we are gonna have a lot of ash trees, a lot of lumber coming up. And we need to come up with a way to get rid of that lumber. I think that it's only ethical that we make use of that in a sustainable way, whether it be to have the community. There's a lot of different options. A lot of different communities do things differently. Some will do a sealed bid process for lots. You know, you put lot 1, lot 2, lot 3. People come and say, yeah, that'd be perfect for my firewood this year. And then put a sealed bid in. Also, our wood chips, we don't really have a policy on our wood chips, but we're gonna have a lot to get rid of, and there's no need to just have them sit out there and rot. We do use them, but we're gonna have way more than enough.
How do we make sure that if these are contaminated trees,
So, sure,
how do you make sure you're not
good question.
promoting spreading the disease?
Good question. Meeting with our urban forestry coordinator from the DNR, when I asked her, well, how do we know where this wood's going? She kind of smirked and said, it doesn't matter anymore. It's everywhere. And she said, what you could do is if you have them, bid on it, they fill out this paperwork and sign that they're only gonna keep it at their lot, in Watauga County or in Outagamie County. That's what most communities are doing. There is also a kind of expired 2-year quarantine that they had previously required. She said, we're pretty lenient with that anymore, just getting rid of it. So.
Can't you just grind it up and spread it out in the park?
We've got so much. We are, but we've got, it's.
I mean, there's a lot of low areas in the park where you can put it in and it would turn to dirt.
We have so much. Yeah.
So when Appleton did it this summer,
Yeah.
we hired, I don't remember the name of the company.
Esplenda. Was
Yeah,
it
Aspen.
Asplund?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I don't think that's the name. But anyway, they came through and they ground 3/4 of that tree right on the street.
Yeah,
And then the rest they brought to our Wadham site. We have another site
Yeah.
like that.
yeah,
And then they send them all through a grinder and they took all the chips. We never seen any of them. They're gone.
yeah, yep, you can do it that way too.
Went solely to chips.
Yeah,
They had a big grinder down there. They actually had a big Prentice loader. They just fed that thing and it just just chumming right through.
Yep, you
So
can
that's
do
what we
that.
did.
That's an option. Outagamie County did the lot sales, where you'd go to the office and get a permit and say, I wanna cut, I want so many cords of wood for fire, and they just let you go out on site and pick it up at Plowman Park. So that's how Outagamie County did it.
We could get the price they get for a bundle of wood at the gas station. We're sitting on about 2.8 billion bucks.
Million.
Right, exactly.
We could fund our lights.
Well,
could.
Robert said we could fund our yard waste compost site. So I know that you have some experience in this, so I
Yes,
don't know if you
I
want to
took-
speak on
I
that.
took down over 600 ash trees last year. So I have a mountain of wood chips myself.
Mhm.
So the best ways I found to get rid of them are to give them away,
Yeah,
have people come and get them. Local advertising, Facebook, the paper, you name it. In terms of Ashwood, yeah, they were very strict starting out where it couldn't leave the county or it had to be kiln dried. So typically their 2-year aging process where they said you could move it starts from when the tree is infected. Because as soon as that tree is infected, it's pretty much gone.
so we're
Ash
past
tree,
that.
yeah, ash trees are very, very dangerous to remove once they're dead. You get to the middle, they pop, they crack, they split, they peel. Very, very dangerous. A lot of people get killed doing it.
Mhm.
So what I've been doing with all of the walks that I have is I have a mountain of it started. And every couple of years, I call in a firewood processor that can do 10 cords an hour. And they sit there for a weekend and I have a mountain of firewood.
And that's what Midstate does.
No, yes, so it'll cost you $1,000 to get, you say they run for 2 days at a time. So it costs you $1,000, but the amount of firewood you could sell would be equivalent to about $3,200 per se. So you could make money on it, or we're talking about using this ash, why don't we do something historical with it?
Mm.
Why don't we send it to Zabel Sawmill, get it cut up, turn it into veneer, make flooring, make a plaque, make something that we can hang somewhere for the people to see, so that we're using it ethically.
There are a lot of communities that are doing that in larger cities, building complete park shelters with their unclaimed ash wood. So it's a great conversation.
Absolutely do it.
So I don't know, that we have a lot of different options. So, yeah. It's a really sad situation. Like, I think that when the time comes for the leaves to come on the trees in this next couple springs and summers, it's gonna be an eye.
Yes.
It's gonna catch your eye
You can
Drive
see it.
anywhere.
anywhere.
Looking at the bark, you can see them.
Yep.
Yep.
The longer
yeah.
you wait, the worse it is. The other
Yeah.
thing you could do for wood chips is, I was thinking about this. There are people contractors, all they do is wood chips and mulch for people.
Mhm.
Have them give you a small fee for a trailer load. I don't know how many guys are running around with 7x16 dump trailers and they're doing mulch, they're doing dirt, they're doing all the small things. Sell it to them so they don't have to pay the big dollar somewhere else. Give it to the city, put it back into the community, not someone's private pocket.
Sounds like there could be more than one way to save our ash.
There is. I like that, John. Thank you.
Very politically correct, sir.
Not have any idea of what it cost us when we had that last storm to bring that grinder in here?
I'd have to look that up. That was,
I mean,
well, we've done a tub grinder a couple times and
so we should have an idea.
Well,
Right.
that was how many years ago and how much is inflation? You factor in 19%.
thousands of dollars.
What side do you need? What size do you need?
Now that you're part of a committee, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Not me.
I'm just kidding. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, this is a very vast conversation that
That will be a
hope-
contracted,
it would be a
it would be a
contract.
contracted thing,
Yep.
some. I'm
That's
just thinking
why a
out
lot of
loud, they're gonna take
communities-
care of most of it.
What's that?
They'll probably take care of most of it. You might pay more for that
Yeah.
service.
Right.
This could be
It's-
another,
My
Potential
thought
future
is
agenda item.
what can we
Yep.
do for the community.
I would
not
say this could be another potential agenda item to,
Right,
Yeah,
yes,
talk about.
thank you,
Yeah.
yeah.
Taylor, have you got anything to put you on the spot? You haven't got anything to report from school, do you?
No.
Okay.
The only thing that would be coming up is like the kids want to do outside of school prom, but that's nothing to do with.
Oh,
Yeah, they wanted to do it like somewhere in New London.
for
probably.
post prom?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's it. That's all I've got right now. Everybody's just focusing on finishing the semester.
And falling asleep in Chad's presentation.
Anybody got, well, the next meeting date, February 4th, Tuesday? Anybody got anything else? Look for a motion to adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Bernie,
Second.
second by John.